Put new Does in your washing machine. Finest Does you've ever seen. Bigger news now when you sing. D-U-Z does everything.
The new Does brings you The Guiding Light, created by Erna Phillips.
It really wasn't necessary, Mater, for you to come all the way to the hospital this morning. I would have called you later in the day.
Ross, I'm very anxious to know...
Yes, of course. But you could have phoned me. Well, I've seen the X-ray. There's not a thing to worry about.
Oh, thank God.
The only reason I suggested the X-ray was to ease your mind.
Yes, I know, but
and now that you know the X-ray shows absolutely nothing, and you have my assurance that the boy is perfectly all right, why don't you try to forget the whole incident?
Ross, I don't know if I can make you understand. But at least I'll try to. I told you how Ted insisted that Chucky take his bath without any supervision from me. Without anyone's supervision.
No doubt Ted's learned his lesson on that score.
That's just the point. I don't think he has. Ted doesn't begin to blame himself for what happened. He blames me.
You?
I should have taught Chucky how to take a bath. Chucky should have known not to leave a bar of soap in the tub. He should have been taught how to be careful. Ross, don't you see? It isn't only what's just happened, but what's apt to happen in the future. And I'm frightened. I'm terribly frightened of Ted's influence on Chucky. Of his lack of understanding of the child.
Mater, surely there isn't any doubt in your mind that Ted is very fond of his son.
No, not the slightest. But you nor I, nor anyone else would be able to convince Ted that he's expecting too much from a 6-year-old. From a boy who, in spite of all his fears, will make every effort, whether he's capable of it or not, to do what his father asks of him.
Perhaps Ted will have his eyes open this morning.
What do you mean?
I understand from Dr. Hewitt that Ted made an appointment to see him this morning.
I can't believe it. Of course, he did say he would make an appointment with the doctor, but I didn't believe him.
Well, he did. It's possible, Mater, that Chucky's little accident may have been a blessing in disguise. Off the record, I gave Bob Hewitt an unbiased opinion of Ted, as I know him to be. I'll wager that the doctor will change Ted's mind about a great many things when he talks to him this morning.
At this very moment, Ted White is being shown into the office of Dr. Robert Hewitt, child psychologist. The talk between these two men should be a rather interesting one, don't you think? We'll learn more about this in a moment.
For white washes without red hands, I've gone back to Does.
Yes, for white washes without red hands, the swing is back to Does. Does does everything in your wash and does right by your hands.
I didn't think about my hands when I started experimenting with some of those no-rinse chemicals, but my hands couldn't take it. So now I'm back to Does. Does gives me white washes without red hands.
Is a pair of red hands the price you're paying for doing your wash? Then use Does next wash day and inspect your wash carefully. Have you ever seen such dazzling whiteness, such thorough cleanliness, such brilliant colors? Have you ever seen all this with such wonderful treatment for your hands?
Does can promise this because of the way Does is made. Only Does, of all leading wash day products, contain such great quantities of rich, real soap, combined with 2 modern detergents. Only Does contains these quantities of rich, real soap, balanced with 2 modern detergents.
That's why Does gets your clothes so wonderfully clean and white, while it gives extra safety for colors and almost toilet soap mildness to hands. That's truly why Does does everything and does right by your hands. Get Does today. You'll say it, too.
For white washes without red hands, I've gone back to Does.
I think you should know, Dr. Hewitt, that I haven't a great deal of faith in your particular branch of medicine.
Well, that's understandable. After all, what do you know about it? It's only natural to mistrust something about which you know nothing.
That's where you're mistaken, Dr. Hewitt. What I mean to say is, I have some knowledge of this mumbo-jumbo that is labeled child psychology.
Mr. White, I'm not taking any exception to your scoffing at child psychologists. That's your privilege. But I don't want to waste my time any more than I want to waste yours discussing something abstract. I want to talk to you about your boy. That's something concrete, something we can put our hands on. And if I can in some way explain your child to you and to his mother...
What makes you think it's necessary for you to explain my son to me? Surely you're not going to base whatever conclusions you've drawn regarding my son on the exaggerated statements of a possessive mother.
I'm not as yet convinced that Mrs. White is a possessive mother. She's concerned about her son. Surely you won't deny her the right to express that concern, to seek advice and guidance.
That's a lot of poppycock, and you know it.
You're an intelligent man, Mr. White, a man of the world. You must have a great deal of experience behind you. You recognize that there is such a thing as instinctive fear in children and in adults.
Naturally.
You are familiar with your son's fears?
I know his weaknesses, if that's what you mean.
Weaknesses, you say?
Fear is a weakness.
I don't agree with you. Fear is instinctive. It's an accepted fact, and I'm sure you'll agree that children are born with a fear of falling and a fear of loud noises.
Dr. Hewitt, just what are you attempting to prove?
As children advance in years, their worlds become larger. They're exposed to more experiences, more dangers. Fears come into existence to defend them against these dangers. A child has no fear of a hot stove until he comes in contact with that stove, burns himself. After that, he's afraid of a hot stove. That fear is a protective fear.
That's elementary, Dr. Hewitt. Experience is a great teacher. We learn what to fear through experience.
And, Mr. White, through guidance.
Granted, Doctor. But I do not believe that too many of us profit by advice. Usually we have to learn by actual experience.
But you and I agree as to instinctive fear.
Oh, quite.
Now, what about those fears that are not brought about by threats of danger? Imaginative fears, you might call them. Fears are thoughts, many times unexpressed thoughts, but powerful. So powerful that they can change a personality and have a tremendous effect on the health and happiness of individuals.
What about them, Doctor?
Do you deny that your son has a great fear of the water, darkness, of boxing, of anything that might bring pain to him?
No, I do not deny that.
How do you deal with these fears?
Certainly not by fostering them in the boy.
What do you mean by fostering?
Mrs. White is an extremist as far as Chucky is concerned. The boy doesn't want to swim, therefore he should not be made to swim. He's afraid of a dark room, therefore he should have a light in his room. He's afraid of being hurt, therefore he should not learn how to defend himself.
Oh, I hardly think those are Mrs. White's feelings.
Nevertheless, Doctor, they are. I believe Chucky should experience all the things of which he is afraid. Experience, Doctor.
But you can't force a child to experience certain things. He must grow into the experiences. Oh, I haven't seen the boy. I haven't talked with him. But from what Mrs. White has told me, and from what little I've gleaned from you, I'm of the opinion that you are expecting too much from a mere 6-year-old. And by making him accept your pattern, you might be intensifying his fears and creating more than he already has.
A theory on your part, Doctor. Chucky is a normal child with normal fears of that which he does not understand.
Well, have you made any effort to try to make him understand?
Dr. Hewitt, there isn't any reason for us to go on discussing theories, and that is all we have been doing up to this point. I'm not asking the impossible of the boy, but I do insist, regardless of his mother, that he become a self-reliant individual. Granted, he may be going through some emotional discomfort at this time, but he will thank me later for having made him overcome his fears at an early age.
But you can't make anyone overcome fear, Mr. White. I don't believe your child trusts you.
I beg your pardon.
I don't believe he finds any security in you. If he did, Mr. White, his trust in you, his belief in you, would not intensify his fears, but would help him overcome them. Don't take chances with this boy. Don't destroy something within him.
You're being most presumptuous, Dr. Hewitt.
After having talked with you, Mr. White, I'm more than convinced that Mrs. White's fears for her son are well-founded. Very well-founded.
Dr. Hewitt, I am not interested in your opinion, but I want to make absolutely certain that you do not see my son.
Well, there's very little I could do for him, or for his mother, because there's nothing I can do for you. I hope you'll not regret having closed your mind to the help that could be given both you and your son. But I'm afraid you will live to regret it.
Here's America's newest wash day promise from the one and only Does.
White washes without red hands.
Yes, Does gives you white washes without red hands.
Have you noticed a difference in your hands after using those no-rinse chemicals? Then see why women everywhere are going back to Does. Just accept this challenge.
Change to Does next wash day. Then inspect your clothes carefully. Have you ever seen such dazzling whiteness, such thorough cleanliness, such brilliant colors? Have you ever seen all this with such wonderful treatment for your hands?
Does can promise this because of the way Does is made. Only Does of all leading wash day products contain such great quantities of rich, real soap combined with 2 modern detergents. That's why Does gets clothes so wonderfully clean and white, while it gives extra safety for colors and almost toilet soap mildness to hands. Does does everything. So for white washes without red hands, get Does today. Bertha Bauer takes a step in the wrong direction when she sees Ted White in the next episode of The Guiding Light, brought to you by the new Does.
Put new Does in your washing machine. D-U-Z does everything.
This is Clayton Collier wishing you good day and good doesing.